Hello, good morning. Welcome to today's section of our 30 Days of Code Challenge brought to you by CodeFlex. Please don't just watch this alone. Make sure you like, share, and also comment, right? So today we are going to be looking at HTML tables. Like HTML tables. What are HTML tables? HTML tables are HTML elements that allows developers to represent data in rows and columns. What do I mean? Um, they are HTML elements that allow developers to display data to users in vertical axis and horizontal axis, right? So when we say rows and columns, what should come to our mind is vertical and horizontal, right? So when we say column, we are talking of up to down, top to bottom. And when we say horizontal, we are talking of left to right, right? Top to bottom, left to right. So if we say something is having 5 columns, we mean that there is a section from up to down, up to down, up to down into 5 places, right? And when we say something is 5 row, we are saying there is a section of left to right, left to right, left to right into 5 places on top of each other, right? So that's what we mean by um, rows and columns. So without wasting much of our time, I already have the simple boilerplate here. So I will just open the table tag just as we have been doing for every other HTML element. You also create a table tag, table element using the same process, opening it and closing it. Then inside of it, we are now going to write or lay out how our table should look, right? So there are different elements that HTML table has, just as HTML forms also have form elements when we're talking about input, text area, labels, and all of that. HTML table also have elements. You have the thead, the tbody, you have the th, the tr, you have the tc, you have the, you know, just like that. And all these are just short form of thead. Table row, table columns, table header, table body, and all of that. So first of all, whenever we are creating a table, we want our table to have a header, right? We want it to have a header like students' information. We want to display, we want to create a table that holds students' information, right? We want to give it a header, like something like a heading, like right? In as much as we can use H2, right? We can use H2 normal header and position it normal. But tables have their own way of doing the same thing, right? They have a particular element for that, and that is caption. And note that the caption is always the first thing inside the table because it's the heading of the table, right? So we are going to have caption, right? Like this. And I'm going to say students information, right? So that's my caption. That's my caption, right? So inside my table now, there's going to be a top row, right? And this top row is going to be the head of the table. That is the head. You know, how will I put it? Each column are going to have a head now. Like this column is for student's name, this column is for student ID, this column is for student class, right? We're going to write it on top like that so that whoever is filling it will know normal that okay, this is where we have to fill student's name. So that's the column's head and all of that. So that is going to contain one row already, one row from left to right. So the first thing we are going to do is to create a row with tr, right? That is row number one. We have a row now. On top of inside that row, we want to have a content. We want to put content inside the row, and this content are going to be the head of each of the columns, right? So the number of head we are going to put here is going to determine how many columns our table is going to be. So if I say I want to have t head, right? And the first one I want to say student's name, right? That's my first head. So I want to copy this and say vid and the third one should be class, or even let's say age. Okay, class, right? So we have our table. You can see that the table is having a heading, right? And it's centralized to make sure that it's for this table, right? So we have this. So that's the first row. My first row of the table is carrying the column head, right? So I want to create another row. After this row carries the heading, right? I want to create another row. Every other row that comes down now becomes what? The main form data, right? So it is, so I will come down here again and create another TR now for information. So this time around, I'm not going to use TH, right? What I'm going to use is TD because it's now table data. The first one is table head. Now I'm creating the table data, right? So I will say TD now, and inside my TD, I'm going to say Emmanuel Kant should be the first name. Sorry, right? It's going to be for the first column. Then the second column, I want to have Agbarajo Destiny. Then the third one is going to be Danjuma, probably Akande, right? So you see that we have table. We have the first row being head, and the second row is already carrying the data. So if I want to have more than one name, all I will just do is to make sure that every of the other row contains that same information. So I will just copy this and paste. So you see that we have another row, but this row, they are not head. The only the first row is the head of the table, right? So I can now change the name to say Taju, and say David, and say Ware, right? So you see we have a table now with two um data for two persons, right? With A2, we now know that the student's name are in one column, student ID in another column, student class in another column. In as much as the form is like this, it's looking really jam-packed, there is still one nice element or important element I did not use here that I would want to add now, but I wanted to explain this before I add it. Now you see that this does not make any difference, right? It's just a table and it's making sense as a table. But could come here and add T head, right? Like this, right? I S this and put it here. And also do this here, tbody, right? Put it here. I want to format everything. Okay, now what did I just add? I added T head and I added T body. So I'm now specifying, making it really clear that this particular part is the head, right? And this every other thing enters into the body of the table, right? It's just for semantic purposes and for ease of understanding when developers like me enter into my table code, even though tables are not that useful like it used to be, right? This table is not really looking good, but for it to look a little bit okay, because there are some other things I want to quickly rush through, but we need to be seeing everything clearly before I'll be able to do that. I didn't want to style anything until we get to style, but for the purpose of this class, I have to at least add style. Let me add internal styling. Like when we get to CSS, we understand all that there are inline styling, there is internal styling, and there is external styling. Inline styling is what you do inside your elements. Internal is what you specify in the head, and the external style is what you create another file, CSS file, put your style and link it to your HTML. But this, we are just going to use the style tag here, and write our style inside. So now I want to select the table, and I want to give it a width of 100%. I want it to occupy the whole screen, right? So it's now occupying the whole screen, but everything is scattered. So I want to also give it border, right? And I'm giving it 1px solid gray, right? It now have a border. So I also want to give my th and td border so that they will be visible, right? I will say th comma td. I want to give them a border also of 1px solid gray, just like this. You see that, yeah, everything is now making sense. It's looking okay, but the alignment is not okay. So what I will do is I want to align my header. Okay, let me just align everything to the left, right? Say test align left. So yeah, everything now fall into place. The reason why I say something the thing I want to do need me to style this so that everything will be clear is because what I want to do, you need to be seeing all this. If I want the first header to span to occupy 2 columns, all I need to do is just to add the co-span attribute, right? So I'll come to that very first header and add column span, right? I'll say 2. If I say 2, you are going to see that it's going to span 2 columns, right? It's just like I'm saying occupy 2 columns, right? These are the methods and the logic that were used to create layouts in those days when CSS, Flex, and Grid were not available. They were using tables to create layouts, right? You will now enter into the layout and begin to put your HTML elements and all that. So that is that. That is that. Let me make this right. So that okay. So so if I also want it to be on the table, on any of the what's it called, in any of the data, body data, I will also just go there and add and put the co-span there. Now, one thing I want you to understand is that you see that when I added co-span, my table scattered. That's why it is very important for you to plan your HTML. I keep saying that you have to plan your HTML properly and know what you want to do before you start to jump into styling, right? Styling can mess your code up if you do not have a proper plan of your HTML, right? So it's just because I'm just explaining. That's why I'm just doing all this. Normal. If I want to do something like this, I have to have structured it and know that okay, if I span this, everything is still going to fall into place like this, like this. So I would have created a better plan before I jump into styling, right? So what else is there to really quickly talk about? Um, what is what is okay, there's also a row span, right? I can also say row span. Row, I did column before, right? So I can also say row span and also make it 2. For this, you see that it will now occupy 2 row, up and down row, and merge it together and make it 1, right? So that's just that about column or about table. There's nothing really special about table. Nothing really special. There's nothing in table. So you can also add styles. The way you add style to normal HTML elements, you can also add to table tag elements. Table elements. There's nothing different. There's nothing different. Now, if you look at this table, you see that it's too jam-packed. I can decide to space everything, add breathing space by giving it padding, right? Don't forget to like, share, and comment on these for other people to be informed, right? Don't forget to like, share, and comment. It's very important. So padding, I'll just give it padding of say 10 px, right? You see that it's now spaced, right? So I've used that too. The same way you style your normal element is the same way you style your table element to your taste, right? I can give any of them background. I can say, okay, the T, I can say TD should, sorry, all TD, listen, all TD alone should have background color of 32113, right? And they will have that just normal styling, and I was, because it's now dark, I cannot give it a color of FFF, right? Just like that. So there's nothing really special about HTML tables, right? The same way you have the table at the top, you can also decide to put the table at this side, right? At the side. So if you want to do that, all you need to do is to change, leave the only the first table as only the first th as um you allow only the first th to remain there, and replace the other ones um, uh, with the student information, right? Let me just do it. What I mean is this: if I want all the head to be at this side, I mean student name, student ID, and class to be at this side. All I will do is come to this place, right? Take this, I'll X this and put it here, and take this back up to this place. You see that although it's not properly structured, I just want to tell you that you can put all your header in one side. You just have to do them like this. Put them in each of the, just like this. Now you see that I have all my head in one side, because they are the first in the row. Every row, the first column in every row is having that. You see, this is a column, right? This is a row. I mean, in this row, this T row, this, you see that this first row starts from here and ends here. But I'm saying in this first row, the first column should be TH, while every other thing should be TD. So this is TH, these others are TD. I also come to the second row. This is the second row, and I say I want only the first thing to be to be TH, which is student ID, and want every other thing to be what? To be TD. Then I go to the, that's just it. It's just proper planning, and you just position everything, and everything falls into place. That's what table is all about. There's no big deal at all, no big deal about table. Even in as much as table is no longer very, it's not that it's not useful, it's still very useful, but it's not as useful as it used to be. That's just what I want to say. So thank you once again for this wonderful section. Thank you for being there, and thank you, Code Flex, for making this a reality. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment. Thank you very much, and see you in the next section. Bye.